Hello and welcome to the Calling the Real You podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Horton, and I call the real you out each and every week with special guests like the one we have today. And my goodness, I am absolutely thrilled to be sharing time with this very special woman. She's been a role model to me. She is absolutely amazing, and you are all going to love her. Today we are talking with Debra Poneman. We're going to be discussing your year of miracles coming up in 2017. And for those of you who haven't had the privilege of knowing Debra, please allow me to share a little bit about her. For over 30 years, she's been a best-selling author. She is the founder of Yes to Success seminars, as well as the co-founder of Your Year of Miracles that we're going to be hearing more about in a moment. It is a program for women, and she shared her system that's been used by tens of thousands of people in every corner of the world to create lives filled with success, abundance, deep fulfillment, and profound self-love. Known as the mentor to mentors, and I can vouch for that, Debra's students have taken her teachings and become mega successful entrepreneurs, renowned transformational leaders, and even New York Times best-selling authors. Many have become millionaires and even billionaires, some even household names. And everyone who has been touched by Debra and her contagious energy of belief in your magnificence has moved their life powerfully ahead and began to live the greatness that they are. And it is my absolute distinct honor and pleasure to welcome Debra to the show. Debra, welcome to the Calling the Real You podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I've really been looking forward to this, as you know.
We planned this a while ago, and I'm just happy that we're here sharing the time together, and it's an honor to bring you to the audience that listens to Calling the Real You.
Thank you. And I have to say right off the bat, I tried to turn off I think you call it instant message or something, and I heard a ding already, and I have to say I am a technological, what's the word? I don't want to manifest it, but I cannot figure out how to turn off instant messenger. So if it dings in the middle, I don't know what to do about it.
Well, you know what? It's Christmas time, so whenever there's a bell ring or a ding, that an angel spreads its wings or gets its wings. So here we are.
Thank you for making me feel so much better.
No worries. We live in that life, so it's all good. Debra, please, for everyone who's listening today, would you take just a few minutes to share with us your journey and how you arrived to where you are right now? You're just remarkable.
Well, thank you so much. Well, I won't start out with my birth, which is very easy. My mother said no. I think you probably would like to hear from the time I was 19 and I went to become a teacher of transcendental meditation. And I know TM is really big these days. It's receiving a resurgence, as it should. And yes, when I was 19, I was on teacher training with the Beach Boys. They were with Maharishi also, and they were in my small group, but I digress. But when I came back from teacher training for the first decade of my adult life, I taught meditation, and I loved teaching meditation. It was very fulfilling, but I was broke. And I realized that woman does not live by mantra alone, and I had to make some money. So I thought, okay, how can I make money? I thought, I'll sell investments. So I moved out to LA. I thought that's where the money was. And, oftentimes or almost always we do something for one reason, and then there's that expression, we make plans and God laughs. Well, God had a really big yuck over the idea that I was going to make money out in Los Angeles because I was a dismal failure at selling investments. But there's always some other plan that's going on that we don't see. And when we look back, it's like, wow, I should have surrendered a long time ago. I should have trusted a long time ago that the universe has my back. Mm-hmm. So when I was in LA, somebody invited me to a workshop on money, and I thought it was going to help me be better at selling investments, which it wasn't. I was still a dismal failure. But this seminar the man was talking about the law of attraction, and this was in the early 1980s. And he was saying that our thoughts create our reality. And if you think thoughts of success and prosperity, that we're all like tuning forks, and we start vibrating with those words that we're speaking, and we draw more success and prosperity to ourselves. So if we're always talking about how bad things are, lack, limitation, I'm never going to get out of debt, we're contracted. We vibrate with that low energy of poverty and loss. And that, like a tuning fork, is what we bring into our lives. And this just blew my mind. The whole thing was, oh goodness, I have never heard anything so powerful, but I knew it was true. So what I did was I went home, did what any intelligent person would do. I quit my job the next morning, and well, big deal. I wasn't making any money anyway, but I quit my job the next morning, and I started studying the great masters of success and prosperity like Napoleon Hill and Wallace Wattles and Florence Shinn and Earl Nightingale. And within about 6 months, I had put together what I thought a brilliant seminar. And then I froze, because I thought, who am I to teach these principles of success when I'm broke and I drive a beat up 10-year-old Chevy Bel Air that my aunt left me when she passed away. But here's the thing, Pamela. I was a product of my product. I believed what I was learning from these great masters. And one of the concepts was, an idea comes to you because it wants to be manifested through you. There's this beautiful expression, God has no hands but yours. So what I believe, that the creator, the God of your understanding, whispers some, or the energy of the universe, however you want to frame it, whispers in your ear what needs to be manifested on the planet right now for the planet to move ahead. And I believe that the creator picks the vehicle who he feels will do a good job manifesting that. And that's what I learned from these great masters in so many words. And I was told that I should go out and teach these success seminars, despite the fact that I was broke and didn't look very successful. And I know that so many people, have you ever had the experience yourself where you had a really great idea and you didn't do anything about it, and a couple of years later somebody was really successful with your idea?
100%. Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like the creator gave you first dibs, but you didn't do anything about it, and the creator needed it manifested at that time. So he had to go to the second stringer, and they went and manifested it. So despite my outward circumstances, I did what I also teach people to do, and that is take a step from which there's no turning back. Because if I analyzed it, then I would have thought, I can't teach people success principles, because look at me. But I knew that this idea was what I was supposed to do on the planet. So the step from which there is no turning back was I went and rented a room at the Santa Monica Public Library, put up posters, and once the posters were up, because that's what you did in the early 80s, there was no turning back. And another thing I tell people is, when you have an idea, don't go around telling everybody what you're going to do until you have significantly manifested it, until you've taken many steps towards its manifestation. Because if you tell your precious ideas to your friends, quote unquote friends, when it's just a new idea, they can very easily crush that idea by saying, oh, come on, nobody's going to listen to a podcast called Calling the Real You. Nobody, there's so many people who do what you do already. I call them the discouragement committee. So why would you share your ideas with the discouragement committee? Just go out and do it. I don't know if I told you this, Pamela, but a couple of weeks ago, I was in Africa on a private safari with Richard Branson. And I was taught, there was just 12 of us, and he and his wife Joan was there, and we were at his private safari lodge in South Africa, in Ulasaba. And I was talking about this concept with him, and he said, well, his favorite expression is, screw it, just do it. And he said, what we do is we analyze ourselves to death. We analyze ourselves into paralysis. And he says, who cares if you fail? He says, there's no failure. He says, the only mistakes is if you don't learn from the experience. Then it's a failure if you go and do the same thing again. But the only reason, and he started listing to me all of the times that he failed. he said, you got to fail a bunch of times if you're going to have the kind of success that you want. So screw it, just do it. And the reason why most of us don't do it is because we're so afraid of what other people are going to think if we quote unquote fail, that we live our lives in the mediocre zone instead of living a miraculous life in what I call the miracle zone. And so that's what I did with my company. I just put up the posters, even though the discouragement committee saw that I was going to teach the power of the mind, and they said it was a crazy idea. But when I walked in the door at the Santa Monica Public Library, there was standing room only. And as they say, the rest is history. Within a few short years, my seminar was being taught in 7 countries on 4 continents, and that was decades before the internet. So this was snail mail and phones with curly cords. That's how we communicated, yet it was still in 7 countries and in 12 major U.S. cities. And as you know, some of today's most renowned transformational leaders were my students back then. And they went on using the principles that I taught them to create their mega success. So that's a thumbnail of, oh, but wait a second, that only brought me to about 1988. You want me to keep going and tell you what happened after that?
Well, yes, please.
So what happened after that? Well, I hired this cute little UCLA student to be my secretary, who now is the #1 best-selling woman author nonfiction of all times, and that's Marcy Shimoff. And she was my secretary, and her first speaking engagement was actually when I got sick. And I said, well, if you want to get paid this month, you got to go do that seminar. And that was her first time she ever spoke in public. And now she speaks all over the world. And Janet Atwood of the Passion Test was one of my students. Even Deepak Chopra took my seminar numerous times. And as my company got bigger and bigger and bigger, and by the way, another principle that I live by is the other reason why you don't tell everybody what you're going to do is because that which is sacred should be kept secret. And your ideas are definitely sacred. So you don't go around telling everybody your sacred ideas, because what's going to happen is every time you tell someone what you're going to do, you're less likely to do it, because the energy is used up in the telling. It's like letting the steam out of a kettle. And also when people say, oh, that's such a great idea, if they do, then you have the accolade, so there's not as much impetus to actually go out and manifest it. But anyway, that was just an aside that I wanted to share, because a lot of people say, oh, you should tell people because they hold you accountable. They don't hold you accountable, because there are a lot of people out there, believe it or not, I know this will shock you, who don't desire your success. For whatever reason, they think if you're successful, it's going to take something away from them. And our thoughts are powerful. And if you share your precious ideas with those people, even though outwardly they might say, oh, wow, that's so wonderful. Oh, wow, you'll be really good at that. Inward, they're thinking, and I hope you fail. Because, and I know that sounds cynical, but it just happens to be the truth, because sometimes people don't want you to succeed. Sometimes they are afraid that your success is going to somehow diminish theirs. Or if you become successful in that field, that's an idea they had, and then they won't become successful in that field. So even energetically, you want to keep your precious ideas, your sacred ideas, secret until you've made so much progress that there is no turning back. But anyway, back to my story. My seminar company got bigger and bigger, and I was my Yes to Success book was in the hands of a major New York publisher, and I was in negotiations with a major producer in LA to have my own daytime TV talk show. Actually, Janet Atwood was my secretary at that time, and she was actually at that meeting taking notes. And now, of course, the Passion Test is the #1 tool used worldwide to discover your passions, and that idea was born in my Yes to Success seminar. So now the question your listeners are probably thinking, well, I heard of Marcy, I heard of Deepak, I heard of Janet, why haven't I ever heard of you? And the answer is, what I taught people was that true success is following your heart. And in 1988, something happened, and I completely gave up my career, really on the verge of, I guess people say, Deb, you were on the verge of superstardom. I was never looking for superstardom, but I was looking to make an impact on the world, but I gave it all up. And the reason I gave it all up is because my daughter was born. And I just took one look at her and I thought, new passion. And I became a mom at home, and I stayed at home with my kids for 21 years. And I love them so much. You know, they say about when you have kids that your heart, from the minute you have a child, your heart is now walking around outside your body. And, you know, it's like I love my kids so much. They're now 28 and 25. But I just decided that I was going to be a mom at home. And you know, a few things about that. It's not that I tell everyone, oh, you should be a parent at home with your kids. No, you should follow your heart. But my heart was so clear. And if I had continued to teach success seminars around the world when my heart was with my little girl, I mean, I don't want to leave her to go to the bathroom, let alone leave her to go tape a TV show every morning. I remember I was supposed to do a whole series of seminars in Singapore after Diana was born. And I remember the promoter calling me and saying, hey, I heard your baby was born. You ready to go? And I said to him, you know, you're going to have to call me back in 18 years. He still remembers, he's still a friend, which turned into 21 when my son was born. But I say, you know, don't cry for me, Argentina, because I had a great time. Because I say when you have kids, you get to prolong your childhood for another 18 years. Because to me, it was just so fun going to Chuck E. Cheese and making Barbie birthday parties and going to all the games and being the room mother and the holiday room mom. And I mean, what's more fun than that, right? Being the science fair mom and the carnival mom. And I wouldn't have given it up for the world. But, you know, all good things come to an end. And the reason why I came back and started teaching again is because of Janet and Marcy. They say they did an intervention, and the intervention was, Deb, when are you going to stop pretending that your kids still need you? And I said, oh, but they need me to read me Harry Potter to them before they go to bed. Of course, they were 18 and 21. But
that time it's past, maybe.
Yeah, right. But the truth is, you know, I don't know if my kids ever needed me. There are plenty of kids who are raised by nannies and grandparents and foster parents. And I'm not saying you should stay at home. I'm saying be true to yourself. And I think our kids, especially our daughters, need to see us as women, but out there creating success. You know, it's the time of the woman right now. And you know, like the Dalai Lama said, the Western woman is going to change the world. And but I just knew in my heart that that's what I wanted to do, was to stay home with my kids. But when Janet and Marcy said, you have to stop pretending your kids still need you, I realized I had to be honest with myself. It was me who needed them. And I didn't want to let go, because to me, they all had New York Times best-selling books. And I had a little trophy that said world's best mom, you know, and I just didn't want to give it up, because to me, one, I love you, mommy, was worth more than 1,000 standing ovations, and it still is. My kids are still the priority in my life, but they were right. It was time to let go. And the most amazing thing, and here's another great principle of success, and that is always ask yourself, who is the most important person in the world? And the answer is always the person standing in front of you, because you never know who that person is. Did I know that when Marcy was a little bright-eyed and bushy-tailed college student and asked me if she could work for me, she said, I want to be like you. And she really did. I want to be like you. I want to work for you. I want to learn everything you do. And I want to be your secretary. And now look who she is. And the reason why I am now teaching your Year of Miracles, which we teach, we have students in over 50 countries. And over the last few years, we've had over 4,000 people go through our Your Year of Miracles program, is because when Marcy had the idea to teach this program on how to create a miraculous life, she knew. That's so funny to hear that ding. That was Marcy. I just looked at my computer. Absolutely right. An angel. It's an angel.
That's beautiful.
So what Marcy did was, when she had the idea that she wanted to teach people how to live a miraculous life, because her life was miraculous, she realized that it was mostly from the principles that she learned from me when she took Yes to Success. So she called me and said, would I teach this program with her? I said, absolutely. And we put together what we feel is the best program that either of us has ever taught. And I think thousands and thousands of people agree with us. And that's my story.
That's amazing. I have to just say, we're going to talk about your year of miracles specifically in a moment, but I want to thank you for two things. Number one, following your heart, because the time and the investment that you put into your children, I'm sure, is benefiting the world. What you put into our children is what comes out. So thank you for that. And while it may not have been a sacrifice and you were absolutely following your passion, you also in many ways are a parent to the world based on the work that you were doing. So thank you again for coming back and for following your instincts once more, even though the nudge came from Janet and Marcy. Thank you, because the world needs you now. And it took courage to do what you did, 21 years ago, however many years ago it was, today, and also having the courage to come back. So I just want to honor you in this moment here, just hearing your story. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that. And one other thing that I'll add is that what there's this expression in the Talmud, one of the Jewish scriptures that says you change the life of one person and you change the world. And even though I was home all of those years, my kids have really turned out to be amazing. My daughter is in chiropractic school, and she wants to open a practice and help young women with eating disorders. And I think she's going to be fantastic at that, and combine nutrition with her chiropractic practice. And my son started a nonprofit when he was 15 years old. There, you could Google Daniel Poneman and see what he does, but he helps kids in the hood, in the neighborhoods, as we call them in Chicago, get basketball scholarships. And he's helped literally hundreds, if not thousands, we can't keep track, of kids who would probably be flipping burgers or worse. And now they're in college because of my son. And so they've also gone out and made a big impact on the world. I'm very, very proud of them.
Beautiful. That again, thanks to you and you following your heart. Debra, what is exactly your year of miracles? Talk to us about that.
Well, thank you so much for asking. The answer is that a lot of people are struggling right now. A lot of people, they are in jobs that they don't like. They thought that they were picking something that they were passionate about, but it's turning out to not be very fulfilling. A lot of people are struggling with money. They're struggling with relationships. They're struggling with health. And there's some people who are doing great, but they're ready to upgrade to miraculous. And what we do is we give people the tools to live a miraculous life, a life that's not only successful on the outside, but deeply fulfilling on the inside. And as I mentioned way earlier, I taught meditation for I still am a meditation teacher, and I still have the tools to teach people how to create inner silence. So what we do is we teach people energetic tools to create a life that is really miraculous. And just like now, okay, we're talking about Marcy, and the little bell rings. The minute I start talking about Marcy, that's kind of magical. That's kind of miraculous. And those little magical, miraculous things happen all the time when you live in what we call the miracle zone. And Marcy and I have not only studied with the greatest masters of the East and the West, but we've lived these principles for decades now. And because I started teaching meditation about 40 years ago. Don't do the math. But right? And I started teaching these principles of creating success over 30 years ago. And we have put together the best of the best of what we know. And now we offer it to people over a virtual one-year program. And why 1 year? Because we know, again, from our own experience, that a weekend does not usually change your life, nor does even a week or a month. And what we do, and also if people buy some program that's tapes, oftentimes it turns into what we call shelf improvement. But our program is a 1 year live program. They are on the phone with us um, twice a month, and then we do send them audio messages every Monday morning. But we're live. We do laser coaching with people. We answer people's questions in real time, and every month is dedicated to a different subject. Like 1 month it's completely focused on self-worth and self-love. 1 month is completely focused on getting your life together in terms of your health and your fitness. And when you have 1 month, when that's your focus at the end of the month, but then you have the rest of the year to reinforce it. And you have a miracles group who not only can you share your wins and your goals with, but they also use the power of their attention to put their powerful attention on your dreams coming true. Because if you're familiar with Lynn McTaggart's intention experiment, she scientifically has proven that when people put their attention on you, it can change your life. And when 8 people, her work was done with groups of 8, put their attention on you, it's been scientifically proven that your desires come much more quickly and powerfully. So everybody's in a group and we intention for each other. Actually, we put our attention every day for just a few seconds. That's all it takes on each other's miracles coming true. So that's it. And people have had just absolutely amazing experiences and really true miracles in their lives.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, thousands of people from over 50 countries.
That's so beautiful. I know you've given, obviously, examples of people when they worked with you, such as Janet and Marcy, and there had the outcomes with people running through the Year of Miracles program. Could you share, maybe, do you have an idea, or can you remember a success story, specifically a real recent one from last year's program, for example, that you could share?
Yeah, actually, this, I have to tell you, this is actually my favorite, and it just happened. I was in an airport, actually, when I was coming home from Safari with Richard Branson. I was in an airport in England. Absolutely, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. And a woman recognized me, and she came up to me and she said, "Oh, you're Debra Poneman. Oh my goodness." She had this beautiful English accent. She says, "I'm in your Year of Miracles program, and I have to tell you what's happened to me this year. I lost my job. I got a divorce. I moved out of my home that I'd been living in for 25 years, and I've never been so happy in my life." And she said, your course just gave me the courage to do what I always knew I should do. But I just felt alone. But with my miracles group, I had the support to move my life ahead. And now I have a better job and a better, and she's just going on and on. But that's what happens to people with your Year of Miracles. I mean, we have had people who have lost weight that they've been trying to lose for decades. We have a woman who is 64 who got married for the first time. Marcy has actually, she officiated at one of the weddings, and I'm going to be officiating in another wedding because we call them our miracles babies. And this one is not a baby, 64, and she is married for the first time. And she said it's absolutely, because it was one of her, everybody picks 3 miracle intentions at the beginning of the year. And people have, there was one woman who had a corporate job she'd been wanting to get out of, again, for decades. She knew she didn't want to be in the corporate world, but she was afraid to take the leap into the nonprofit sector. And we help people set their intentions. We have the first month, we have an exercise that we take them through so that they find out what their soul really wants them to do, what they were put on earth to do. And they get to that soul intention, they set that soul intention, and she knew that she had this dream to work for a nonprofit. And she set that intention, and within a couple months, she was working for a nonprofit at a bigger salary than she was getting in the corporate world. Wow. And she was hanging on to the corporate world because she was afraid she would lose her fat salary. So wow. It's just miracle after miracle. But the truth is, Pamela, the truth is that the most gratifying, there's Marcy again, the most gratifying, she really wants me, thing that Marcy and I find, we talk about this all the time, is that people tell us that for the first time in their lives, they really, really love themselves. They really, really feel that they're worthy of miracles, that they trust that the universe has their back, that they have that inner silence. We have our basic program, and then we have what we call accelerated and inner circle, which are our clients that get more personal attention and personal coaching. And we just had a retreat with our inner circle people. And when people went around and said what their miracles were, sure, there were people who got money, windfalls, like crazy desires, like somebody left them, I don't even know the name, it's some really fancy car and they always wanted one and someone left it to them. Lamborghini, I think it was a Lamborghini. Anyway, doesn't matter. People got a lot of really crazy, wonderful things. But the thing that people shared the most was that they feel this inner silence, and they feel that life is all, not only is it good, but they are really living in a miraculous place that we call the miracle zone, where miracles are just the order of the day, where synchronicities are just around every corner, and where they love themselves and they love their lives. And that's what Your Year of Miracles is really about.
Wow. I am so grateful that it exists, number one. Again, I said this earlier, the world needs you and your program tremendously, especially with the energies and what's going on now. And I'm just so grateful that this is available to people, and I wish we had more time to talk about it. In fact, Debra, would you be my guest again sometime in the future just to continue the conversation?
I would love it. And I have other things that I could say about calling the real you. And I have all kinds of stories that I could share with you. Some other things that Richard Branson said. Yeah, have me on again and we'll talk about lots of other things.
That would be amazing. Thank you for saying yes. And when is the start date for Your Year of Miracles 2017?
It starts on January 10th. I think that's the Wednesday. Yes, January 10th.
So we got a little bit of time here, but one of the things that I appreciate about the program also is the community behind the actual program. A lot of programs that exist now are digital in nature. They're self-study, they're self-taught, but sometimes that's lacking is the community, and you think that you're doing it right, but you could use that extra help or have questions, and people who have programs that are available usually, from my experience anyways, tend to be not available, and you and Debra are, and you bring in amazing guest speakers for your program, and there's just something for everyone. So Debra, thank you for the work that you're doing on the planet for women specifically. I'm so blessed to have you on the show, and invest in yourself, because this is your year. This is your year of miracles. It's time. We need you to step up and into your greatness. And Debra, I know you keep referencing, you referenced a couple of times about, don't count the age or the years or anything like that, but you're absolutely stunning and beautiful, and I could never guess your age. I feel like your miraculous life allows you to look miraculous, so it just shines forth from you. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, and thank you. And I feel the same way about you. You are utterly gorgeous inside and out. And thank you for all the contributions that you make to the planet, which are so numerous. And just being you is a contribution. Really, Pamela, you're fantastic.
Well, I'm still learning how to take and receive compliments, so I'm going to say thank you very much for that, and I'm going to also say that it takes fantastic to know fantastic. So just sending love right to you and to everyone on the call. Have a wonderful, beautiful new year, everyone, and thank you for spending your time with Debra and myself and on the Calling the Real You podcast. There are a few folks that I do need to thank before I let you go, Debra. If you wouldn't mind just hanging on the line with me just a few more seconds here. Again, thank you everyone for joining us on the podcast. And I want to thank my husband, Eric Horton. As you all know, he is my best friend, my husband, and my business partner. And without him, this would be difficult. So I'm grateful to take the journey with him. And I wanted to say thank you to Reverend Patricia for making Calling the Real You podcast possible. It was her flame of encouragement that allowed this to be born. And thank you to our sponsors and support system, Lux Salon and Spa, Yolanta from Yola Portraits, Karen DeFelice Designs, and the transformational music by Jim Oliver. Thank you and love to you all. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Remember, call the real you out.